Amid a ravaging economic collapse, tragedies brought on by the ongoing health crisis, growing social agitation, 2021 started off as one of the most turbulent years for America. Unemployment rates are still increasing. Businesses are dying every day. And despite the distribution of a vaccine, new variants of the virus are being discovered all over the world, which means in addition to the painful human toll, financial and economic distresses are likely to linger for much longer than experts anticipated. All of these determinants and many others are already shaking our country to the core. And at this point, it's hard to tell how much more our institutions can sustain before they inevitably start to disintegrate. The idea of a societal collapse may sound too absurd for some, but so was the idea that widespread business shutdowns prompted by a fatal viral infection would lead the world's wealthiest nation to an economic downturn of unprecedented proportions. And look where we are now. The truth is that every society that ever existed has hit a breaking point, and we would be foolish to think that ours would be immune from a generalized meltdown. That's why today, inspired by an article authored by Richard Miller and published on the Urban Survival website, we're going to analyze the 3 most likely ways the United States could collapse into chaos in the near future. So stay with us. Don't forget to leave a thumbs up and share this video and subscribe to our channel to keep updated with the next chapters of the 21st century economic depression.
Shalom. I want to begin by giving all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi Bahasham Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Much respect to you, brothers laboring worldwide. And salutations and blessings to the hopeful elect, believing on the words of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. And as you see, the Lord is, bringing this place down piece by piece, as it's prophesied, right? Matter of fact, because the Lord said all his words are going to go forth. Everything that he declared. Right? Let's go to Isaiah. Hey, you gotta excuse me. I'm a little stuffed up this morning. Isaiah chapter 46. I will start at verse 9. Remember the former things of old, for I am the Most High, and there is none else. I am the Most High, and there is none like me, declaring the end from the beginning, and from ancient times the things that are not yet done, saying, my counsel shall stand, and I will do all my pleasure. And the most wickedest kingdom ever erected is now receiving its judgment. Alright? And it's going to be a build-up to the ultimate plague that the Lord is going to hit this place with, which is those ICBM missiles. Alright?
At this stage of the crisis, we can already argue that it takes more than a steep economic crisis to set off a societal collapse. But that's definitely a first step into chaos. The United States has proved to be incredibly resilient, even after having faced numerous catastrophes. In 2008, both the economy and the financial markets have experienced one of the deepest recessions ever recorded. But eventually, we were able to recover from the blow.
You see, they keep putting Band-Aids on it. Alright, let's go to Jeremiah. Put a Band-Aid here, a Band-Aid there. But guess what? It's going to eventually not be enough band-aids. This is Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 8. Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. How for her? Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed. Yeah, take balm for her pain. That's what those stimulus checks are, band-aids. Okay? Back in 2008, the housing market crash, right? The banking mortgage crash, all right? They had to bail out the car industry. Okay? They had to bail out banks. Guess what? It's happening again. There's this deadly wound that the Lord has prepared for this place. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her. Let us go every one into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies, you see? So the Lord is performing his work. He's drawing nigh to the world which he made, okay?
Throughout the years, many of us have witnessed massive terror strikes, cyber attacks, political embargoes, several contested elections, even a Japanese sneak offensive, but every time the nation managed to emerge more powerful than before.
You see? And that's that pride, man. But guess what? The Lord said these things were going to be. Let's go to Matthew right quick. Matthew 24. And I want to jump to the point. Excuse me again. Matthew 24 and 6. And ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass. For the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines and pestilence and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows, you see? All these are the beginning of sorrows. Let's go to 2nd Ezra. Second Ezra 16. Second Ezra 16 and verse 17. Woe is me, who will deliver me in those days? The beginning of sorrows and great mournings, the beginning of famine and great death, the beginning of wars, and the power shall stand in fear, the beginning of evils. What shall I do when these evils shall come? See? Behold, famine and plague, tribulation and anguish are sent as scourges for a memory. Yeah, they're sent as whooping sticks to get right, to remind you of your wickedness, to turn you away from it, right? But for all these things, they shall not turn from their wickedness, you see, nor be always mindful of the scourges. So they don't need to keep these things they don't need to lay them to heart, or lay them to mind, as it were, right?
Several contested elections, even a Japanese sneak offensive, but every time the nation managed to emerge more powerful than before. America has repeatedly shown its strength to the world, and it's clear that it takes much more than a single adversary to knock us down. But it's crucial to consider that each crisis can fuel another and become compounding issues that lead to terrible calamities. For instance, the Soviet Union fell apart due to extensive failures on the system that resulted in an unsustainable situation. It started small, with minor secession movements in the Balkan regions that gradually began.
See, he said it started small. This seed that the Lord has planted in America is now flourishing. the seed of perverseness, right? Matter of fact, let's go back to Isaiah. Okay? Because the Lord has what? He said he's mixed a perverse spirit. And now guess what? It's blossoming, you know? This is Isaiah, to get to the point. Chapter 19 and verse 14. The Lord have mingled a perverse spirit in the midst thereof, and have caused Egypt to err in every work thereof, as a drunken man staggereth in his vomit. Yeah, this dude is firmly in derision. The Lord has this guy in a trick bag. Okay?
In an unsustainable situation. It started small, with minor secession movements in the Balkan regions that gradually began to incite chaos all over the Soviet.
That word gradually, gradualism, that's what the Lord deals with. And he's planted a seed of perverseness here in America, Babylon the Great, where I had all these nations drinking that same cup. All right? And it's a matter of time for the Lord to execute his plan.
Empire, to the point a coup attempt was made, and become compounding issues that lead to terrible calamities. For instance, the Soviet Union fell apart due to extensive failures on the system that resulted in an unsustainable situation. It started small, with minor secession movements in the Balkan regions that gradually began to incite chaos all over the Soviet Empire, to the point a coup attempt was made, since client states lost confidence in the government. Over the course of just a few short months, the whole empire went down. In short, this means that for the United States to experience a similar decay, we would have to undergo a series of challenges that all culminated in a collective loss of confidence in the federal government, with large regions of the country deciding they would be better off on their own. As Miller described in his article, in order for a nation like the United States to fully collapse, it would need to be the victim of cascading failures. This is a process where a failure triggers further shortcomings in a system of interrelated, interconnected parts. We could take the recent Texas power grid failure as an example. All it took was an ice storm to make the entire state go dark. For days, there was no electricity, no natural gas, therefore no heating, no water, and in some cases, no food for millions of families. One of the most imposing states in the United States suddenly became a third world country due to a power outage. But what if that happened in a national proportion? What if our national power grid went down for a prolonged time period? According to Miller's viewpoint, if the whole nation went dark, most water and wastewater systems would also stop working. We would lose internet connection and telecommunication systems, and there would be a halt to fuel pipelines. In face of the combined failure of all these systems, no society would be able to function as it used to, and eventually, new infrastructure would arise, new borders would be drawn. Thomas E. Griffith, Jr., a major at the U.S. Air Force, wrote in a paper titled Strategic Attack of the National Electric Systems that experts believe the lack of power would stop almost any form of modern transportation. There would be no rapid transit, no elevators. Also, the lack of power would cause difficulties in driving because of problems with traffic signals. Shipping would be disrupted because ships could not be unloaded at the port. Eliminating power would also cause water supply distribution problems and fire hazards. Civil conflicts, health, and hunger crises as well as infrastructure breakdowns, can all act as key pressure points that could ultimately cause our society to crack once they become prolonged issues. When a society starts to crumble, it's only a matter of time until its foundations finally shatter. America, just as the ancient Roman Empire, is just too big to fail.
Why would it mention the ancient Roman Empire? Alright? Why? Because this is Rome 2.0. The revised Roman Empire. The last leg that Daniel seen in his vision. Okay?
Foundations finally shatter. America, just as the ancient Roman Empire, is just too big to fail due to one single dramatic collapse. But like the Romans, we will probably see a separation of our states as political disputes and wealth disparities have been largely expanding social divides. Each state is now divided between red and blue, and considering our growing differences, it's very likely that in a scenario of societal collapse, each one of them would react differently.
See, that's the Lord mingling that perverse spirit. Okay? That's the Lord doing that. What do I want? Let's go to Mark. You know? And we could have got it in Isaiah. The Egyptian against the Egyptian. Yeah, this place is divided. Mark chapter 3. Let's get to the point. You know what? Verse 24. If a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. You see? If a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. If Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end, you see? But have an end. And he has an end. Alright? And is rapidly approaching. All of the signs point to the crumbling of Esau's kingdom. Alright, this age, this eon. Let's play a little bit more of this video, and then we'll finish it out.
We've seen multiple examples of powerful and expansive federations fall apart and dissolve into warring factions, Miller said. It happened with the Roman Empire, the Mongols, the Chinese, honestly, everywhere if you go back far enough. Regardless of why the U.S. collapses, vulcanization is likely to be how it collapses, he pointed out. During the American civil conflict, we almost saw this event happening, and the fact that a large nation such as the United States, which has so many diverse cultures, managed to stay together for as long as it has, is relatively exceptional in world history. But no matter what triggers a societal collapse in the U.S., the consequences of it will be translated into a continent fractured into smaller regions that might be hostile with one another. I do see some unnerving parallels between the current American political environment and those in the former Soviet Union and former Yugoslavia in the 1990s. The combination of constitutional crises, national demagoguery, weak institutions proved fatal to national unity in those cases, spawning wars that tore countries apart and killed hundreds of thousands of people, said Robert E. Hamilton, the Associate Professor of Eurasian Studies at the USAW College. With all that said, before revealing the three possible causes, or at least most critical events that could result in a cascading failure of all the U.S. systems, it's important to remember that you can always be prepared in advance not to be caught off guard and see your whole life turn upside down overnight. Just like we've seen in 2020, Those who had planned and prepared for the worst-case scenario before the meltdown started did much better than the ones who have to cope with empty shelves and empty wallets. As we have stressed in many of our previous videos, there's more to life than civilization as we know it. So without further ado, here are the 3 triggers that could lead America.
Salakia. And as you see, man, it's the Lord is playing this thing out beautifully, man. Yeah.
To a societal collapse. Number 1, the worsening of the health crisis and an authoritarian response.
You see? And that's what this 4th wave thing is about. Why do you think Mississippi and Texas have now eased their restrictions? Well, it's to bring on this, the worsening of the health crisis and then an authoritarian response, meaning Biden gonna lock this bitch down. These are one of the things they say can trigger the collapse of America. All right.
Could lead America to a societal collapse. Number 1, the worsening of the health crisis and an authoritarian response. Throughout world history, plagues were oftentimes key factors that led entire societies to an eventual downfall. Pests and disease have caused incalculable damage to humanity over the ages, and we've seen that such crises generate multiple others. The current sanitary outbreak has shut down our economy and devastated our population with widespread unemployment, a dangerous hunger crisis, and the burst of several social disputes across the nation. Even though vaccines have started to be approved and distributed, many new variants are arising, and the current vaccines might not be effective to combat the new strains. In case the outbreak aggravates to a much worse level, or if other outbreaks burst over the coming months, it would only take a few more draconian measures or a series of bad decisions from the federal government until we started to...
There you go, that word again. Draconian measures, man. All right. Why is this word being used more and more nowadays? Well, it's the Lord bringing forth the forefront of the Bible, man. The same lamb, right, that came up with 2 horns and spake like a dragon. All right, those draconian laws. All right, from the Falabians and the patricians to the Republicans and the Democrats. All right, the same Roman Empire that the Lord is allowed to stay in power, to come back from that deadly wound. All right, this now is going to be taken out of power. All right.
The major cities and states rebelling. The idea of spending another year in lockdown without jobs and seeing our living standards tragically deteriorate would make millions of Americans desperate. So, a reality in which countless rebel groups arise across the country isn't that distant, and the growing social turbulence added to a troubled economy would be the perfect recipe for problems. Which lead us to the next topic. Number 2, social agitation and conflict. If there's something we learned over the past year, is that America has multiple groups, movements, and factions ready to fight for a cause. In fact, many of them don't even need to share the same cause, as collective rage seems to be highly contagious. We're seeing all over the news aggressive demonstrations of discontentment that were taken into the streets and sparked panic and chaos in many big cities. No matter on what side of the story you personally stand, the thing is that we cannot deny how divided and angry our population is right now.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Let's read this one more time. This is Mark chapter 3 and verse 24. If a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. If a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. If Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand, but have an end. Yeah, but have an end. Yeah, the rulership, the kingdom that Esau has established is coming to an end. All right, is ready to be harvested. It's ready to be plucked. Is there for the taking. This is Second Ezra, chapter 15. And I'm gonna start at the top. Matter of fact, let's see how much more of this video left. Let's play a little bit more and we'll close it out in Second Ezra.
And when all sides have very different beliefs about the same narrative, it becomes increasingly harder to keep things under control. In essence, one of the primary aspects that have kept us calmer and friendlier towards each other was the comfort provided by modern society. Remove that out of the picture, and disorder will take over. Number 3, social evolution. Another intriguing viewpoint is one given by Dr. Stephen Kimball of Gettysburg College, who analyzes these matters from a sociological perspective. He affirms that the cultural tipping point is when a society has created too much complexity. At that point, society can no longer afford it. Every previous major civilization in human history in every corner of the world has collapsed due to becoming overly complex, due to bureaucracy. That is to say, eventually, it just won't be worth it to congregate in traditional society. As happened in countless other societal cycles, evolution has prompted conflict. In our modern context, where everyone can isolate themselves into their own personal bubbles with like-minded people, we stopped sharing space and interacting with our local communities. According to the perception of futurists, our physical connections are becoming gradually less relevant than our digital ones. Therefore, our traditional physical borders can be another friction point. Consequently, whether through political conflict, an overly complex bureaucracy, or transcendence into a new way of living, our society will be hard-pressed to maintain the same semblance of cohesion it currently has, says Miller.
Right? And they transcendence got something to do with the MOB, man. All right? Let's close it out here. This is 2nd Ezra chapter 15 and verse 1. Behold, speak thou in the ears of my people the words of prophecy, which I will put in thy mouth, saith the Lord, and cause them to be written in paper, for they are faithful and true. Fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee that speak against thee. Yeah, that word incredulity means unbelief. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world, the sword, famine, death, and destruction. Why? For wickedness have exceedingly polluted the whole earth, and their hurtful works are fulfilled. Yeah, we just read that in Jeremiah. Her sins have reached up unto heaven. Therefore, thus saith the Lord, I will hold my tongue no more as touching their wickedness, yet through the mouth of the prophets, which they profanely commit. Neither will I suffer them in those things in which they wickedly exercise themselves. Behold, the innocent and righteous blood crieth unto me, and the souls of the just complain continually. That's right. We're complaining continually to the Heavenly Father about this wickedness. And therefore, saith the Lord, I will surely avenge them, and receive unto me all the innocent blood from among them. Behold, my people is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, yeah, the land of our captivity, right? But I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. And that's that ultimate plague, a thermonuclear fire that the Lord has arranged in its perfection to hit this place. Okay? That's going to be it for the lesson. Lord willing, it's been edifying. I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi Bahasham Qadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Lord willing, come to you with us. Till the next time I say, Shalom.